Joe Cool here. Who's the visibility? Need to read here.
1 second. Okay, so there's a mountain coming up.
That was the most accurate depiction of what it's like for Joe Burrow being the Cincinnati Bengals starting quarterback. Welcome back to Sports Done Right. Today we are going to be talking about Joe Burrow and why Burrow needs to be in the MVP conversation, if not the first name that comes up in that conversation. Now the consensus seems to be that Patrick Mahomes is going to take home his second career MVP award since 2018. Now, for a while, it seemed like the MVP race was between Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, who many people have been building up as the next Tom Brady and Peyton Manning of the NFL. However, this has proven to not be the case, as Josh Allen is far more akin to Brett Favre than he is to Manning or Brady. Allen has that high risk, high reward gunslinger mentality of throwing the ball all over the field, strong arm, throwing the deep ball, but he gets reckless with the ball. He turns the ball over a lot. And that just makes him way more Favre than Brady or Manning. Now, Patrick Mahomes has been billed as being the next Tom Brady in a sense of being the best quarterback in the league, the most accomplished, the face of the NFL, the face of the league. But who's going to be the Manning? Who's going to be that other quarterback? Who's going to stand against Mahomes at the top of the mountain? Well, Joe Burrow is that guy. Now, I'm not saying that Joe Burrow needs to win the MVP, but we're going to make the case for why he probably should. Let's keep in mind that in Super Bowl 46, the Cincinnati Bengals were half a second away from winning the Super Bowl. Now, we all know that on the Bengals' last play in the Super Bowl, Aaron Donald he didn't sack Joe Burrow, but he got to Burrow and forced Burrow to throw a very bad pass towards the feet of Samaje Perine. Ja'Marr Chase was wide open on that play. If the line could have just held their blocks for a half a second longer, Burrow could have thrown the ball to Ja'Marr Chase instead of having to get rid of it quickly and get it out of his hands with Aaron Donald breathing down his neck. If the line holds their blocks for half a second longer, Burrow hits Ja'Marr Chase and the Cincinnati Bengals are Super Bowl champions. Now, the protection of Joe Burrow is a recurring theme in his career. His offensive line has been the difference between him tearing his ACL in his rookie year and not tearing his ACL in his rookie year, him winning the Super Bowl and him not winning the Super Bowl. It all rides on his offensive line. The Kansas City Chiefs know this. They learned it the hard way. When the Chiefs were up for their second Super Bowl victory in 2 years when they played the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Super Bowl 55, the Buccaneers just dominated the Chiefs. They dominated the line of scrimmage. They got to Mahomes early. Often he did not have time to make the plays that Patrick Mahomes is known to make. And that's why the Tampa Bay Buccaneers won that game so easily. The Chiefs learned from that, and they invested in their offensive line over the last 2 years. They brought in guys like Joe Thuney and Creed Humphrey. They drafted well. They signed free agents. They improved their offensive line. The Bengals have made strides to improve their offensive line as well. But as we've seen, their offensive line was half a second from being Super Bowl champions. They just needed to hold their blocks for half a second longer. It always comes back to the offensive line. If they hold their blocks and Burrow hits Chase, let's assume Ja'Marr Chase doesn't drop the pass. Because why would we assume that Ja'Marr Chase drops the pass? He's one of the top receivers in the NFL. Let's assume that Burrow gets that pass off in time. Chase catches it. Touchdown. Bengals win. Joe Burrow has won Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes has won Super Bowl. We wouldn't be talking about the top 2 quarterbacks in the NFL are Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, and Joe Burrow rounds out the top 3. It would be there's Mahomes and there's Burrow. And then, you got guys like Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, Trevor Lawrence. They're very good. But there is Mahomes and there is Burrow. If Burrow has a Super Bowl ring, it is an even playing field. He is on the same level as Patrick Mahomes. Burrow would be looked at as being on the same playing field as Patrick Mahomes. And if Burrow and Mahomes, if you take the Super Bowls out of the equation and you still have that battle going on for, well, who's really the best quarterback in the league, you may find out that while Patrick Mahomes has the most arm talent of any quarterback we've ever seen, Joe Burrow has the ice water in his veins, and Joe Burrow has had Patrick Mahomes' number. Colin Cowherd laid it out for us. Colin Cowherd warned us ahead of time that Burrow could possibly be better than Mahomes, better than Josh Allen even. Colin Cowherd said Joe Burrow has now entered the realms of Mahomes and Allen. We now have three great quarterbacks in the league. All three are in their athletic prime. All three can move. All three have requisite arms. Mahomes may be the raw talent, Allen the physical specimen, but does anybody in critical situations throw the ball more accurately into the right person more often than Joe Burrow? I think not. Joe Burrow is everything you want in a quarterback, and it's not just having receivers like Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and a good supporting cast. Burrow can get it done without those guys. Joe Burrow can get it done even without Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase missed 4 games due to injury this year. Without Jamar Chase, Burrow still went 3-1, completed almost 67% of his passes, had 8 touchdowns versus 3 interceptions. He had 355 yards and 4 touchdowns in Week 11 against the Steelers without his top receiver. So you can talk about Josh Allen has Stephon Diggs, Patrick Mahomes has Travis Kelce, Joe Burrow has Jamar Chase. You take these top targets away from the quarterbacks. How good are the quarterbacks? Well, we see how good Burrow is. And Burrow knows how good he is. I am who I thought I was. That's what Joe Burrow had to say. What did we learn about Joe Burrow when Jamar Chase was out? Burrow is who we thought he was.
But they are who we thought they were.
And again, we're going to bring it back to protection. We know what he can do without his top wideout. What about his offensive line? The Bengals' record, based on Joe Burrow's protection, this is including the playoffs, even though the playoffs don't count when it comes to determining the regular season MVP. We're just looking at their record here based on how many times Burrow gets sacked. When Burrow is sacked 4 or fewer times, the Bengals are 14-1. When Joe Burrow is sacked 5 or more times, they're 0-4. This team lives and dies with Burrow. Their success hinges on this man and keeping him safe in the pocket and untouched. Joe Burrow was sacked 13 times in the first 2 games of the season. In those first 2 games, he had 3 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, a passer rating of 73.1, and the Bengals started off 0-2. At the beginning of the season, I predicted the Bengals were going to fall off, that their Cinderella run was going to be over. And I was wrong. It looked like I was going to be right, but I was wrong because they tightened up. Joe Burrow was only sacked 15 times during their 10-game win streak from Week 9 all the way up to the conference championship. 13 times in 2 games, and Burrow looked bad. Sacked 15 times during 10 games, and they don't lose. The MVP is the most valuable player in the NFL, most valuable player to his team. Well, this team needs Joe Burrow more than the Chiefs need Patrick Mahomes. This team can't get it done without Burrow. If Burrow's not on, then the Bengals are just off. And they need to keep him safe. When he's sacked 5 or more times, they're 0-4. Under 5 times, 14-1. The math is there. Keep Burrow safe, we're winning. Patrick Mahomes hasn't been sacked 5 times all year. And Patrick Mahomes, if he gets hurt, his backup just has to come in. Keep throwing it to Travis Kelce. We saw when the Chiefs played against the Jaguars. Again, that's the playoffs, and playoffs are do not count when it comes to the regular season, but it just goes to show just how important Burrow is to his team and how important Mahomes is to his team, where they still put Chad Henne in, and Henne drove the Chiefs down against a good Jaguars defense and scored a touchdown before Mahomes came back. The Bengals would not be nearly as successful with their backup quarterback in. So this is the debate. Burrow and Mahomes. Tyler Boyd likened it to Manning and Brady. This is the next Manning and Brady. And Burrow's had Mahomes' number. Patrick Mahomes in games where he has a 14-point lead, including the playoffs, 44-2 against everyone but Burrow. 44-4 on his career, 0-2 against Joe Burrow. Up until the Chiefs' victory in the conference championship game this year, Burrow just had Mahomes' number. Mahomes hadn't beat Burrow. It was the one top-tier quarterback that Mahomes couldn't beat. And both games were decided by 3 points. It was as close as it gets. Burrow is just proven he's just as good a quarterback as Mahomes. He may not make the same crazy throws, but he's got the ice water in his veins. He's got the ability to will his team, that never say die. I don't care what it's going to take. We're going to win this game. So help me God, we are going to win this game. He's got that X factor. Jamar Chase said if Joe Burrow isn't in the MVP race, then he should be. He should be the number one quarterback in the race. Now, naturally, he's going to prop up his quarterback, and Burrow and Chase have been a tight-knit couple since college. That's his receiver from college, that's his receiver in the NFL. They have a special bond, but you don't have to be one of Burrow's best friends to share this opinion that Burrow should be the number one quarterback in the race. His stats may not compare to Patrick Mahomes, but when you break down what he means to that team, what that team is without him, where that team was before him, Burrow makes a difference on the Bengals more than Mahomes makes a difference on the Chiefs. He's more of a difference maker. And like I said, this team's success fully hinges on Joe Burrow. And that is why Burrow should be in the MVP conversation, leading the MVP race at the top of the polls. Hey, you made it to the end of the video. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you could drop a like down below, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel if you feel so inclined. You can watch another video like this right here, or you can visit our channel and choose from the different uploads that we have. Thanks so much. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter at SportsDW21, and I'll see you guys next time.